I don't want to send a message, he said. It's simply an evaluation. They know it. It's just simple selection. Maybe, but I think in terms of I don't want to send a message, I'm not sure I totally believe in that. Let's talk about Marcus, Rashford and Garnacho as well. But understandably, I think this is leaning towards a video where we're going to talk about Rashford, because I think with Garnacho, he's a young player who has a few more strikes when it comes to his relationship with Manchester United. And I think that is the kind of analogy that I want to, and the road I want to go down to, because this is a relationship. The relationship between Rashford and Man United, between Rashford and Man United fans, between Rashford, Man United and the press, with Rashford, Man United and Man United managers. By the way, this is a video where it's obviously going to be my opinion on things. Get involved in the comments down below. But what you might not know is that I've started a second channel. It's called More James Allcott. And the idea is for it to be a more casual place where I can kind of talk directly to you, more opinion-based stuff. That will be the place where I'll be doing those kind of videos. I've done quite a few videos on there already where we can just shoot the SHIT. So I want to talk about Rashford's decline as such. I think as I say, the PR element of it is a big thing. Is this the last chance for him? And actually, there's two things that no one's really talking about. The role of Ratcliffe in this idea of a cultural reboot, and Mikel Arteta. I think there's whiffs of Arteta in this. And also kind of when you do these kind of things, Amorim's part in this. Because I think the language that he used in terms of his initial statement is really, really interesting. Let's just have another look at it. So, I don't want to send a message. It's simply an evaluation and they know it. This line's also really interesting. The players are really, really smart. So, kind of being positive about them in a way. So, everybody understands my decision. I have to choose. It's a simple decision. He's keeping it very unaffected. He's being unaffected in this moment. Almost like it's not a big decision. And let's talk about this like it's a relationship. The relationship between Rashford and his managers, it's been one where, how do you get the best out of Rashford? How do you get the best out of this guy? Because we know he can be a great player. But in a relationship, sometimes you've got to show, you do more good by showing that I will leave. Or in this instance, you will leave. And I think the timing of this from Amorim is really, really interesting. And I can't figure out if it's Amorim driving this. I think it probably is. I think it's a mix of the two. But Ratcliffe looking to do it as well. Maybe the style is kind of intertwined in the conversation, because the sign-off for this has obviously come from those above as well. And when we look at the recent years of Rashford, we've had some real high kind of watermarks in terms of what he's capable of doing. I think we'll all go straight to that 2022-23 season. Obviously, another 2019-20 season, another strong season when it comes to goals. But outside of that, for the money that he earns, and certainly in the last two seasons, it has gone awry. And I think that is the word I want to use, because I'm very wary of the kind of Rashford witch hunt. It was the Ipswich game, and I did a bit of analysis on Rashford, and it's one of those ones where you kind of have to call it how you see it. And it was just one moment, but it was one of several moments where I felt like Rashford just didn't have that exuberance. Now, how do you get that exuberance back? Is he sort of owed anything by the situation he's had to kind of deal with in the malaise of Man United and him being the star man in all of this? That's obviously maybe something that's kind of led to him feeling low about all of this. I don't know. And I'm wary of putting that at his door. He might be loving life right now. But this situation, in terms of going into a Manchester derby and just taking those two guys out of the squad like that, I think is really, really interesting. Let's have a look at the comments once again, because I think it does just it's so well played by Amorim. I think the thing as well is that in terms of when you do something like this, doing this early enough, this is something that Erik Ten Hag didn't do. When he had credit in the bank, he sort of did it with Jadon Sancho to a point, but not in the best way, with maybe not the same level of soft skills in terms of his communication that Amorim seems to clearly have. And this is interesting in terms of sort of chucking out stuff that's not totally true. We have to win. Of course, the context is difficult. We have to win games, and we have a difficult situation right now. But like I said, I pay attention to everything. Just going to let that hang for a second. We have to win games. So this is the first point I want to make. It's like, in terms of when you put a marker down, doing it now when you've got credit in the bank. And actually, I think Man United fans, all they really want is to see an optimistic future. Wins along the way are obviously crucial. I get that. But I think if you're seeing it develop, like for example, that game against Manchester City, if they'd lost that game, I don't think anyone would have gone at Amorim there. And I don't think anyone would have had a go at Amorim about leaving out Rashford and Garnacho, because it was about setting a new standard. And I think in terms of some of the lines he said, the other bar I thought was really, really interesting was that to say when people are losing their jobs, we need to set the highest standards. It's an understanding of the whole situation and a spin, and I don't mean that in a sort of disingenuous way. It's a new spin on it that is quite empowering in terms of like, well, no, look, people are losing their jobs down here. So up here, we need to set a new standard. Just all really, really interesting ways of, and really good, a really good way, I think. He's so clever with his words already. You can see that. And that's going to be crucial in terms of him surviving and thriving. The way you eat, the way you put your clothes to go to the game, everything. I make my evaluation, then I have to decide. I have a lot of players to choose. And today I made my choice. But he said, look, you got a new chance. You know, it's a new week. It's a new life. And so is it the last chance for Rashford? And again, when we come back to this analogy of relationship, when you're in a position of strength, I think this is, again, a smart move by Amorim in the sense of going, we don't need you. And they don't. In terms of the goal output, Bruno Fernandes, if he's kind of not behaving exactly the way you want to, you kind of need to get him in there because he's actually so important to the team right now. But Rashford, in terms of profile, I think that's another thing here. In terms of that 3-4-3, he's not an outrageously perfect fit, both as that central striker because he's not working hard enough, or as that, let's say, right-sided 10, which I think there could be a nice balance between Diallo as a right wing-back. But if Diallo's going to play as a 10, then again, Diallo is miles ahead of Rashford right now in terms of the energy, the exuberance that we're talking about, the confidence and the output as well when it comes to assists and goals. So coming back to that relationship analogy again, I don't think this is the end just yet, but I think it absolutely could be. Firstly, they're talking about 40 million to sort of get him off the wage bill, which I think is the big part of this. And obviously they need sellable assets. And the other thing that's not in Rashford's favour is they don't have that many sellable assets right now. So they need to be able to sell someone. And Rashford is probably, aside from Bruno Fernandes, who's older, Rashford's 27, Bruno Fernandes is 29, he is the more sellable asset in terms of what you could do without. So doing that is not it's not the worst thing. And this idea that you would love 80 million for him, but you're never going to get that. You're just not, because not that he's damaged goods. Again, very dangerous thing to say about something. And I'm wary of not losing the human of Rashford. I feel like Rashford's just become a word now. He's not really a person anymore. And obviously, as I say, something in terms of that connection between his life off the pitch and his life on the pitch has gone awry. I think the concoction of that and the woes of Man United, him being a local lad, that's a whole lot of stuff to deal with that I can't even imagine what it's like. And then the money and all of and everything above. But that play of we don't need you here, it means that in the next month, even in the next few days, he has to switch on. He has to be very clear in what he wants to do. And anyone who's a Marcus Rashford fan who wants this to continue in terms of this relationship, I think if you look at the Instagram post, and again, it sounds childish, but for him to, if this is him and if this isn't just a PR play, and we're never going to know this, right? Him saying that, watching the game, taking his medicine and going, look, yes, lads, love it, blah, blah, blah. If this is genuine, that could be the start of the sort of renaissance of this relationship. But he has set a marker down, Amorim. And I see a lot of the Arteta situation here. Arteta stepped into a situation where he needed to get that group on board, and he needed to know that, or they needed to know that, a cull was coming and a culture was needing to be set. And Aubameyang went. Ozil went, rightly or wrongly. But in terms of those big figures that are always in the press, that are the first for people to go at, Aubameyang, Ozil, Rashford, they are all, it's a similar situation. So you've seen it work with Arteta. You may, and in, you know, financially there may be some form of hit there, maybe not to the same level because Rashford's so much younger. But in terms of taking that guy that everyone goes to as being the problem or being the scapegoat, however you want to look at it, pick it up, take it out. And it's brutal. Like, I can't believe it. That's a person. And that's someone who's obviously a Man United fan. So it's all brutal stuff. But when we're talking about being brutal, ruthless Ratcliffe, this is the thing that I'm amazed no one's really talking about yet. And maybe I've just missed it. There is a pattern emerging here. And I said it last week. They could talk about cultural reboot. I think from Amorim's point of view, he's looking to do that. But in terms of the pace of which decisions are being made and sentiment is being put to one side, this is the Ratcliffe era. He is ruthless. He will not hesitate. And there's no time for sentiment here. And I think the face of that and how Amorim's putting it across feels like it's far softer. But I think I would not be surprised if this has been somewhat driven by Ratcliffe in terms of going, cull it, do it, end it. Because he's happy to... Dan Ashworth going in the manner that he did, in the sense of Saturday night, he's at the game, and then by the time he leaves the stadium, he's lost his job. Rightly or wrongly, it's getting done, and it's getting done quickly and ruthlessly. And I think there will be moments where this feels cruel. But if it means Man United getting to where they want to be, Ratcliffe doesn't care. He doesn't care. And at this point, the value on the pitch that Rashford is providing for everything else around it, the noise, from Ratcliffe's point of view, he doesn't need it. And he also needs a sellable asset. So I think get used to this pattern. Sorry, I get a cough. Get used to this pattern of clear culling. And that ruthless Ratcliffe element of this, that is why, although it might not be the end, and Rashford would post like that, is maybe trying to hang in there, and maybe it's like, well, oh God, you're actually leaving me, or actually I'm leaving you. No. Maybe it might switch him on, because we have seen such brilliance from him when he's in the right footballing state of mind. But my guess would be that by the end of January, certainly by the start of next season, Marcus Rashford will not be a player for Man United anymore. And actually, kind of within that group, and we've heard all sorts of rumours, haven't we, about him maybe going out, him and Garnacho maybe going out. Don't know if that's true or not. We'll find that out probably in due course. And also when that's happened, has that happened after you know you're not going to be in the squad or before? Again, something that's all speculation, isn't it, right now? Might be utter nonsense. But for Garnacho, there's your warning. There is your warning. And that comes back to the Arteta side of, like, you see Aubameyang, you see Ozil and what's going on there, then that yields more power for Amorim in terms of what he's trying to create and build here. Because Garnacho will look at that and go, yeah, I could be next. If you enjoyed this video, head over to More James Allcott. Lots of content on there. A few Man United videos on there as well, because obviously it's been a busy time when it comes to that. But we're going to be focusing on whatever I want to, and it's a place for us to have a conversation. So go subscribe to that channel if you don't want to miss out. Thanks for watching. Speak soon.